He wanted a kick.
It was schoolboy excitement from Nick Riewoldt. Turned back the clock, one out with a bunch of young kids and a heroic win over the Demons on Saturday night. It might only be round one, but it was a pretty excited St Kilda captain, and well he might be, as he piloted the team to victory. He's been kind enough to join us in the hot seat. Welcome, Nick.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, maybe a little bit too overexcited for round one, but just wrap for the young guys that we could put in great effort and get the result.
You've lost a few of your great mates along the way. Is this validation for you that you stayed at St Kilda?
Oh, look, it's one game, and clearly we've got a lot of work to do, but it was about more than that, certainly for myself and Lenny and Joey and the other guys that are still at the club. It's about creating a really strong legacy, and you know, I suppose Saturday was one small step in the right direction towards doing that.
It was an unusual setup for yourself, I would imagine, running out without all those mates. We know Nick's gone and Ben McAvoy over the journey, Brendan Goddard, but you had 5 or 6 of your other really close mates that you've played such a lot of footy with. It's an unusual experience, I would imagine, when you get out there and you look around and you're seeing young men that aren't really shaving.
Yeah, it was definitely different. I suppose one thing that you build up over a long time playing with the same guys, and you would understand, is this a real trust amongst the guys that you play a lot of footy with. And so that was the one aspect, I suppose, that was missing to a certain extent on the weekend, and that was where a lot of the excitement came from as well. It was a chance for young guys to come in and earn the trust of the playing group, and the way they acquitted themselves, they certainly did that.
Hutchie touched on sticking with the Saints, and there's been a fair bit of media reporting about Eddie Maguire and the chance to go to Collingwood. What's the truth to that, and did you ever consider it?
The truth is that I met with Eddie. I've got a great relationship with Eddie, and he's been really supportive of me throughout my whole career, and I really value that friendship. And so we met late last season, the week of the grand final, and I didn't really know what was coming, but he sort of threw it to me that there might be the potential to get to Collingwood, and would I be interested in that? And so we had some discussions around that and what that would look like. Certainly there was never a formal offer tabled to me or management.
Were you disenchanted at the time with where St Kilda were going?
Oh, I had some questions about where we were going, and those questions were answered really transparently. And I think the decisions that the club made on the back of that were really courageous ones to get rid of some players in the last few years that have been champions of the football club and bring in youth. Short term is going to be more difficult, but long term I think it's a really courageous move.
How did he pitch it to you, and why didn't you go?
Without sort of breaking confidence, he just framed it around a fresh opportunity, a fresh start, and potentially the chance to play in a successful team in my later years. And I weighed that up against the opportunity to create a really strong legacy at a club that I love and a club that I've played for my entire career. And being a one-club player was the most important thing to me.
So you've got a year to go on this current deal with an option. How do you want to be remembered, Nick, when it is all over?
Well, my story hasn't been written yet. I still hold out hope that I'm going to play finals football again for the Saints. The club mapped out a very strategic plan last week about 2018, so I don't think I'll be able to last that long. So hopefully that can be fast-tracked, and that would happen sooner rather than later, and I'd still be a part of it. But just remembered as a great St Kilda person and someone that always got the best out of themselves.
You said you had some questions about the direction. Did you struggle to get over Ross Lyon, your great mate, leaving? How tough was that for you? And I think, was there part of some of the senior group that held the club responsible for that?
Well, I think initially it was such a shock to the group, and that was hard to come to terms with because he's such a great coach, and we had been so successful throughout that period of time. So that was, I think, difficult initially, but when you've been involved in a football club and involved in football for a long period of time, as a lot of the senior players had, you understand that you've got a very short amount of time to be able to dwell on those sort of things. So we moved on pretty quickly, and I think now that the position we're in, it's been good for us and it's been great for Ross.
What were your questions?
For the
You had some questions about the hierarchy. What were they?
Just how it unfolded. How is Ross able to walk out the door? And we had those discussions with Ross as well, and it didn't take long for everyone to feel pretty comfortable about the situation.
Oh, sorry, I was referring at the end of last year. You said when you had to weigh it up, and they were transparent with the way that they pitched it back in you to stay. But what were your questions at the time about the direction? Oh,
just where are we going from a list point of view? What's the strategy moving forward with respects to who we're going to recruit, who we're going to draft? How is that going to look in a few years' time? And those questions were answered and have been delivered on.
Why didn't Scott Waters work?
Oh, it's difficult for me, I suppose, to get into specifics. Scott definitely had the support of the playing group, and every week we went out and gave great effort. But that's a decision that the hierarchy of the football club makes. The boards and presidents make those decisions, and we certainly weren't a part of any of that.
What about, though, Nick, Mad Monday? So you were here on a Monday night and we got reports that, the midget there had been, set on fire, and a lot of it was sent to have been surrounded around Scott Waters and maybe mocking the coach Scott Waters. Is there truth to that?
No, that's a lie.
That's a lie?
Yep. Yeah, I don't think it does anyone any favours to go over that sort of old ground, and that's just a complete lie, that one.
Nick, the AFL Commission met today and continued a path that they say you set them on about a month ago at the season launch, where you spoke quite passionately about how difficult it has been for people you've seen over a decade or so at St Kilda to handle retirement. Not everyone, but some, and you didn't name names, but certain people. And today there was a presentation where I think they're looking at doing a lot more in that space and putting the onus on clubs to do more. What made you... I mean, I'm told it was quite a passionate presentation you made about your old teammates and others. Yeah,
well, that's a great opportunity that we get as captains every year to be able to speak with the Commission and really raise any concerns that we have about the game and what the big topic of the moment might be. And clearly equalisation has been huge and everyone's got that under control. But personally, I've just seen a bit of a trend of players, and certainly this isn't exclusive to St Kilda. I think it's across the board. I've got friends at other clubs that have been in similar situations, and when they finish, it sort of leaves a bit of a hole in their lives. And the AFLPA and St Kilda, in my time, have been really good at making sure there are things in process to aid players throughout that transition. But I've felt like there's just been a bit of a disconnect somewhere, so that players are finishing football and not being in the sort of situation that you would want them to be in after being in the game for such a long time.
You're a statesman of the game now, and the way you spoke there indicates that. What's been your advice to Jack, your cousin, Jack Riewoldt, and what he's been going through recently, off-field and on? I want to delve into. Have you spoken to him? Have you given him some advice about how he's being perceived and how it can ultimately detract from his legacy?
Yeah, I speak to Jack quite a lot, and we've got a really healthy relationship where we ring each other and talk about opposition defenders, offer each other advice, and that's great. With this particular situation, I feel for Jack. I think he's a great person, and anyone that gets to meet him, they understand what an infectious personality he has, how passionate in particular he is about the Richmond Football Club. And he's in a difficult situation where I think he plays his best football for that football club when he is passionate, when he is emotional. And so to try and temper that and take that out of someone that it comes naturally to, it might have a detrimental...
But he's doing that himself, isn't he? By stepping away from, not so much media commitments, but by trying to become part reclusive, isn't he taking some of the
perhaps the timing on that stuff wasn't great, but that's what Jack feels like he needs to do to be able to contribute and play good footy for Richmond this year.
Do you agree with Matthew, who wrote quite a strong piece on Sunday, that he's just being played out of position, that he should be playing closer to goals, and that's where he's played his best footy?
Well, he plays great footy out of the goal square, but I'm not really in a habit of questioning other clubs and other coaches and what they do with their players, Caroline.
So you go and watch him play. I bet you like seeing him take the odd mark.
The now famous media ban. Do you think he pulled the wrong rein there?
Again, that's his decision. I'm not privy to, those discussions and whether that came from somewhere else or he was getting advice. But if that's what he feels he needs to do to give himself the best chance to play well and get Richmond into another final series, then good luck to him.
Do you want to finish your career as St Kilda captain?
I haven't really thought that far down the track. For the last 3 years, I've been consistent in the message that whatever's best for the football club, I'll do. And if that's me staying in the role, it's a role that I really respect and cherish, and I give my absolute utmost in the role. If it means it's someone else and I'm mentoring that person, well, I'm not going to do anything different from a leadership point of view. I'll do whatever the club feels is the best fit.
You're never short of an opinion on most topics. You have been since you're a young bloke. What's your take on the Essendon situation? Should James be allowed back to coach, and do you think the players have been treated fairly?
There are people in far better position than me to cast judgment on that. Look, I just think the whole situation is unfortunate. I don't think there's been any winners out of it, and I hope it can be resolved as soon as possible, and that's really all I've got to say about it.
It's hard to believe it was 4 coaches ago, but last time we had you in this studio, we asked you about Grant Thomas, who it was quite controversial at the time that you were continuing to even see, because he'd only just been, I think, removed from the club a year before. Does he still play a role in your life at all?
Yeah, absolutely. We're still great friends. He's been a great mentor to me. And he still has plenty of advice for me with respects to my career and my life, and yeah, we've got a great friendship.
If you're not the hardest working forward I've seen play the game, then you're very close. It takes a toll on your body. Your mental strength to get up and run hard and push yourself is admired by everyone, but you're at a stage now where your knee is going to blow up at some stage. You know that, and you're going to have to deal with that. Can you talk us through the mechanics of that?
Yeah, I suppose it's sort of like a set of tyres. You've only got so much tread left, and you're going to get to a point where it gives up. But if it wasn't for my knee, the rest of my body feels great, and it's just become something that I manage. And we've got a really good system down pat, you know, with the doctors, the physios at the football club, got a chiropractor, a Zim that I see, you know, 3 times a week. And once we get further into the season, there are some other measures that we go to make sure I can get up and play every week. But
so you're running 15 and 18, I don't know what your GPS says, but, you know, and you're running 4 in the warm-up, which just about kills me. But how does that affect your ability to run? And when you go out to play on your defender and you think, I think mentally, that you're going to run him into the ground, I mean, you have to make some adjustments?
No, game day I'm good. I can get there game day and do what I need to do for 2 hours. It's more the Monday to Friday stuff that...
So would you train Monday to Friday at all?
Certainly not as much as I used to. So it might be... So today we had just a light, you know, touch session, and I pretty much just walked a couple laps, did a couple strides, and that was it. Tomorrow I might do 20 minutes of skills. It would be very light, and Thursday the same, and then get ready to play on Saturday. So you get all your fitness now from playing in the games, and then from Monday to Friday, it's just recovery, get yourself up and go again.
There's a remarkable stat we found today, in that you're only one of 2 players in the history of the game to take 100 marks, say take 10 marks 100 times or more, and Gary Dempsey only ahead of you. And then you look at the names behind there: Lowy, Richardson, Carey, Kernahan and Hall. It's a remarkable feat and a tribute to your work rate. But if your knee continues to need treatment, you're going to have to reinvent the way you play and play a bit closer to goal?
Potentially, yeah, that's a possibility. Might be able to eke a couple of other seasons out if I played a little bit closer to goal. But I understand that's my real strength as a player, is my ability to sort of do both, to get up the ground and you know, be an option across the middle of the ground for the defenders and midfielders, and push forward and try and hit the scoreboard as well.
On that, is the forward line the hardest? Is it as hard now as it's ever been to play that forward role?
Yeah, it's different. It's certainly changed a lot in the last 10 years. I think the major difference now is the ability of teams to put on team defence and apply great pressure. So the ball doesn't come in as well as it used to. There's not the same one-on-one battles that there used to be. You know, you used to have one opponent, could run him from side to side of the ground, whereas now you're running into other players and they'll just do a simple handover. So it has become a little bit more difficult, and I think, you know, that manifests itself, and you don't see the same sort of goal tallies every year. You know, you win the Coleman medal with 70 or 80 goals as opposed to 100 back when you were kicking big bags, Matthew.
Well, it's been a rough run for the Saints. Good to see you excited about your footy again and the St Kilda Footy Club. Long year ahead, no doubt, but best of luck and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, mate. What's up?